Okay, I will read a short story written by Claude. The Whispering Library. In the heart of a small town named Millbrook, nestled between rolling green hills and babbling brooks, stood an imposing Victorian building known as the Millbrook Public Library. Its weathered facade, brick facade? Okay, its weathered brick facade and intricate iron gates had witnessed over a century of the town's history. Inside, towering mahogany shelves reached towards ornate ceiling moldings, their polished surfaces gleaming softly in the warm light of antique reading lamps. For generations, the people of Millbrook had whispered tales about the library. They said that on nights when the moon was full and hung low in the sky like a silver dollar, the books would come alive. If you listened closely, they claimed, you could hear the soft murmurs of stories being shared, as if the tones were gossiping amongst themselves. Lily Anderson, a curious 12-year-old with a mop of unruly red curls and smattering of freckles across her nose, had grown up hearing these stories. She'd always dismissed them as tall tales meant to entice children into reading. That is, until one fateful summer night when everything changed. It was the eve of summer solstice, and Lily had forgotten to return her overdue library book. Knowing her forgetful nature, her mother had forbidden her from borrowing any more books until she learned to be more responsible. Determined to prove herself, Lily decided to sneak into the library after hours and leave the books on return trolley. As twilight deepened into night, Lily crept through her bedroom window and made her way through the quiet streets of Millbrook. The full moon cast long shadows across her path, and a warm breeze carried the scent of blooming jasmine. When she reached the library, Lily easily scaled the old oak tree that grew beside the building and slipped in through an unclocked window on the second floor. The library was different at night. Moonlight filtered through the high windows, casting an ethereal glow over the row of books. Lily's footsteps echoed in the empty halls as she made her way to her turn trolley. Just as she was about to place her book on the cart, she heard something that made her freeze. It was a soft murmur, barely louder than a whisper, coming from the shelves behind her. Lily's heart raced as she turned slowly, expecting to see a security guard or perhaps the stern-faced librarian, Mrs. Peabody. But there was no one there, only books. Gathering her courage, Lily crept closer to the shelves. As she did, the murmur grew louder, and she began to make out words and phrases. Oh, do tell us about the dragons again. The thin volume of poetry seemed to sigh. Nonsense, grumbled a thick history book. Let me regale you with the tales of the Roman Empire. Now that's a story worth hearing. Lily gasped, her eyes wide with wonder. The books were actually talking. She pinched herself, certain she must be dreaming, but the voices continued. A cookbook chimed in. I've got a recipe for a cake so delicious it once stopped a war. Preposterous, scoffed an astronomy test. Nothing is more awe-inspiring than the vast expanse of the universe. Fascinated, Lily spent the next few hours wandering the aisles, listening to the books share their stories. She learned of far-off lands and magical creatures from the fairy tales, debated long-forgotten inventions between the history books and science texts, and even picked up a few culinary tips from the chattering cookbooks. As dawn began to break, casting a rosy glow through the windows, Lily realized she needed to get home before her parents woke up. She reluctantly made her way back to the open window, her head spinning with all she had discovered. From that day forward, Lily became the library's most dedicated patron. She visited almost every day, poring over books with a new appreciation for the wealth of knowledge and adventures contained within their pages. Mrs. Peabody, the librarian, was surprised and delighted by the young girl's sudden passion for reading. As the years passed, Lily's love for books and learning only grew stronger. She studied literature in college and eventually returned to Millbrook as the new town librarian when Mrs. Peabody retired. Lily kept the secret of the Whispering Books close to her heart, never sharing it with anyone. On full moon nights, she would stay late at the library, ostensibly catch up on work. In reality, she would listen to the books, share their stories, adding to her own tale to the mix, and basking in the magic that had captured her imagination all those years ago. Under Lily's care, the Millbrook Public Library flourished. She organized reading programs for children, book clubs for adults, and worked tirelessly to preserve the old building's charm while modernizing its services. The library became a beacon of knowledge and imagination for the entire community. And on quiet evenings, when the moon was full and the air was filled with possibility, people walking past the library might catch a faint sound of whispering and giggles floating on the breeze. They would smile to themselves, remembering the old stories about the library's magic, never realizing how true those tales really were. For in Millbrook, there was a place where stories came to life, where knowledge was shared freely, and where the magic of books were very, very real. And the heart of it all was Lily, the girl who had once snuck into the library and discovered a world of wonders, the world she now helped to preserve and share with others, one whispered tale at a time. Thank you.